In this video, we are going to give you an overview of the English tenses. We are going to start with the present tenses, then we are going to cover the past tenses, and finally the future tenses. If you want to take notes, feel free to pause the video and check out the links in the description box below. The first tense we are going to talk about is the simple present. The form of the simple present is the subject plus the present simple form of the verb plus the objects. An example would be Alison often watches TV after dinner, or Laura usually takes a bus to work. Here we have the subject, here we have the present simple form of the verb, and here we have the object. Now let us have a look at the use of this tense. The present simple is used to express daily routines and habits, as well as to talk about universal or general truths, such as the Earth turns 360 degrees every day. The signal words are always, every, never, normally, often, seldom, sometimes, usually, on Sundays, and so on. Adverbs of frequency such as usually, sometimes, rarely, etc. are often used with the present simple. Our next tense is the present continuous. First, the form. We have the subject plus be plus the verb with the ending ing plus the objects plus the time expression. For example, Simon is meeting with her tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon. Here is the form of to be, and meeting is the verb plus the ending ing. Now about the use. We use the present continuous to express the idea that something is happening now at this very moment. In English, now can mean this second, today, this month, this year, this century, and so on. Sometimes we use the present continuous to say we are in the process of doing a longer action which is in progress, even though we might not be doing it at this exact second. Sometimes speakers use the present continuous to indicate that something will or will not happen in the near future. The signal words are at the moment, now, today, this morning, afternoon, week, tomorrow, on Friday, Monday, etc., next week or month, and in December, in March, etc. Now we're going to continue with the present perfect simple. First, the form. We have a subject plus have or has plus the past participle plus the objects. An example would be Peter has visited Europe 3 times in his life, or Janice has worked at the office several times. Here you have has, and here you have the past participle, and here the objects. Now the use. We use the present perfect to say that an action happened at an unspecified time before now. The exact time is not important and it is a completed action. The signal words are already, ever, just never, not yet, so far, till now, up to now, since, or for. Now the present perfect continuous. The form is the subject plus have or has plus been plus the verb with the ending ing and the objects. For example, Luke has been cleaning the house for 2 hours. The present perfect continuous is used to express how long a current activity has been going on. It is also often used in context to provide a reason for a present result, and it is used to show that something started in the past and has continued up until now. We use since if we're talking about a specific point in time, and we use for if we're talking about an amount of time. Now we are going to talk about the simple past. The form of the simple past is the infinitive of the verb plus the ending ed for regular verbs. For example, watched, cooked, walked, cleaned, and kissed. This doesn't apply to the verb be. You say I was, you were, I wasn't, you weren't. The negative forms and the question forms is did and didn't plus the verb. He didn't watch TV, did he watch TV? When it comes to irregular verbs, you have to memorize them. For example, went, brought, drank, put, kept, and said. We use the simple past to describe an action that started in the past and ended in the past. For example, I visited my uncle yesterday. She planned the event all by herself. He did not sleep last night. Did he graduate high school in 2011? You also use it when you talk about habits in the past. An example would be I played the violin. Further use would be stories and reports, describing sequence of actions, and conditional sentences. The time expressions are ago, last Monday, last week, last month, last year, in 1993, yesterday, and you use them either at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. In general, the simple past emphasizes a moment. Now the past continuous. The form is the simple past form of be, so either was or were, and the present participle ending ing form of the verb. For example, he was playing, they were watching. The negative form would be wasn't and weren't, and the present participle form of the verb. Now the use. The past continuous is used to describe an action that was in progress at a specific time in the past. So we either use it for an action that started in the past and was interrupted by another action. For example, he was writing an email when the phone rang, or we use it for two actions that were in progress at the same time in the past. For example, I was preparing dinner while you were working upstairs. We can also use it for a description of background and circumstances. For example, it was a lovely summer day, the sun was shining, the birds were singing. The signal words are when, for example, he was sleeping when it happened, or while, for example, she was crying while he was laughing. And in general, the past continuous emphasizes a period. We are now going to continue with the past perfect simple. The form is had plus the past participle form of the verb. The past participle form of the verb could be a regular verb, which means that the past participle has the same form as the simple past. So walk, walked, walked. Or it could also be an irregular verb, which you have to memorize. He had walked, she had drawn, they had eaten. The past perfect simple is used to describe one action that happened before another action. For example, he had already cooked dinner when Sue arrived home from work. In this sentence, you can see that there are two parts of this sentence. First, you have the past perfect simple that refers to the action that happened first or earlier. And then you have the simple past that refers to the action that happened second or later. The time expressions are already, for, since, yet, or before using the past perfect simple, we also say after, as soon as, the moment that, until. For example, after she had moved out, I found her notes. And before using the simple past, we use before, when, by the time. For example, before I knew it, she had run out of the door. Now the past perfect continuous. The form is had plus been plus the present participle form of the verb. For example, I had been showering, they had been listening. The past perfect continuous is used to describe an action that started in the past and was still in progress when a second action started. Both actions started and ended in the past. For example, he had been texting her long before they met. Again, we have two parts of the sentence. First, we have the past perfect continuous that refers to the action that was in process. And then the simple past that refers to the action that happened after the first action. The signal words are all, like all day, all year, for 5 minutes, 4 months, since, the whole day, evening, week. And the past perfect continuous emphasizes the duration. Now the will future. Forming a sentence in this tense is pretty easy because will is classified as a modal verb, which means it has the same characteristics. So it does not change in the third person. It is always combined with another verb in the base form, so without to, and we don't use it with do in questions or negatives. All you have to remember is will plus infinitive. Generally, the will future is used in order to express a spontaneous decision, an assumption with regard to the future, or an action in the future that cannot be influenced. To be more precise, we use will in the following circumstances. For things that we decide to do now, for example, I'll call a taxi for you, or a spontaneous decision like, wait, I will help you. We also use this tense when we think or believe something about the future. For example, the president will not be re-elected at the next election. Finally, We can use it to make an offer, a promise, or a threat. For example, you look tired, I will finish the dishes for you. Now the going to future. The sentence structure is to be, are or is, plus going to, plus the infinitive. The going to future is used to indicate planned actions, intentions, or logical consequences, which means you know something is going to happen. So if someone says, I'm going to India next year, this means he or she has already decided to do this. When there are definite signs that something is going to happen, you also use this tense. You would say, it's so cold, I think it's going to snow. The simple present can also be used in a future sense. The sentence structure is either simply the infinitive, as seen in the sentence, I have a yoga class tomorrow morning, or when used in third person singular, he, she, it, an S is added to the infinitive, as seen in the first sentence, the train leaves at 6:45. The simple present can have a future meaning when we talk about scheduled events in the near future. This is most commonly done when talking about public transportation, but it can be used with other scheduled events as well. Now the present progressive. The form is to be, am, are, or is, plus the infinitive, plus the ending ing. The present progressive is used when an action or event is planned in the near future. This can be a certain event, date, like Easter, somebody's birthday, or an arrangement. For example, we are having a party on Saturday. Now we will continue with the future progressive. The form is will plus be plus the infinitive plus the ending ing. The future progressive is used when an action will definitely happen in the future or an action that usually happens, like a friend's reaction to another behavior. The future progressive indicates continuing action, something that will be happening, going on, at some point in the future. An example is, they will be playing football on Sunday afternoon. Finally, the future perfect. It is formed with will plus have plus the past participle. The future perfect is used to express the idea that something will occur before another action in the future. It can also show that something will happen before a specific time in the future. It is a completed action. For example, she will have written the letter by tomorrow. So that's it, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful. Goodbye!